Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to my panels. I would like to introduce my name is Nur Afika bintu Zulkifli and my research partner Dayang Nurmin Zukrin. We both like to present our research study entitled The Study of Student Perception Towards the Recycling Concept in UiTM Kampus Seremban. We were both supervised by Madam Norliana binti Muhammad Shazali. Cycle is the common concept that usually can be defined as the practice of collect and process the material or waste and turn it into the new product. Then the recycling concept has been introduced in order to keep the country from turning it into a trash dump. This is because according to the World Bank that the waste production is predicted to rise by 70% by 2050. Even though Malaysia did not place it as a biggest generator of waste, but according to Minister of Energy, Science, Technology, Environment and Climate Change, it stated that the practice of a waste generation and recycling in the community is still low and has caused more solid waste generated in the country. Therefore, the recycle concept is important because it is considered as action to be taken to reduce the amount of waste generated and to improve overall management effort. Research conducted in UUM, the students had a very low to moderate on the awareness on the 3R programs, while their attitude towards the issue was high. This showed that any of the educational programs about recycling program are achieved when the students are aware and have a good attitude towards the recycling concept, because without the environmental knowledge, students will not be able to achieve the skill to understand the environmental issues and problems. Thus, this study was conducted to examine the student perception towards the recycling concept in UiTM Kampus Seremban. It examines the relationship between the gender, knowledge, and attitude of a student towards the recycling concept. These are the research questions and the research objective. The first one is, what is the difference between both genders of student perception on the recycling concepts in UiTM Campus Seremban? And the second one is if there is any relationship between the attitude and the student perception. And the third one is, what is the relationship between knowledge and the perception of a student towards the recycling concepts. The research objective is to determine the significance difference between both gender on the student perception and to identify the relationship between the attitude and the student perceptions, and to identify the relationship between the knowledge and perceptions of students towards the recycling concept in UiTM Kampus Seremban.
So moving on to the next part, which is the conceptual framework on our independent variables and the dependent variables. And our first independent variables is the gender, attitude, and the knowledge. And our dependent variables is the student perception towards the recycling concept. The hypothesis for each of the independent variables, firstly on the gender, there is a difference between the male and the female on the perception about the recycling concept. And the second hypothesis is on attitude, where there is a relationship between the attitude and the student's perception on the recycling concept. So the third hypothesis is on the knowledge, where whether there is a relationship between the knowledge and the perceptions of the students towards the recycling concept. So firstly, our research design. Our research design, we use a cross-sectional studies, where it is a quantitative method that relies mostly on the collection and analysis of numerical data in order to predict or control the variables. And the unit of our analysis is the individuals among the students in the UiTM Campus Seremban. The sample size, our sample size is about 176 respondents, and they are the students of FSPPP in UiTM Campus SEREMBAN. Our sampling technique, we use the snowball technique as it is a non-probability sampling method, and where the respondent will recruit another respondents on the data measurement. We use on both independent and the dependent variables questions. It was measured by using the Likert scale, which they need to choose from 1 until 5, where the 1 is where strongly agree, 2 is agree, 3 is neutral, 4 for disagree, 5 for strongly disagree. And then for the data collection, we distribute the questionnaire online through Google Form. And for the data analysis, the demographic profile was measured by using the frequency and the percentage, and the hypothesis is proved by using cross-step chi-square test and the Pearson correlation coefficient test to identify the relationship between the independent and our dependent variables. Moving on to our findings, where our findings, most of the respondents are female, and they range between the age of 21 to 23, and they are from degree students, and the most students are from AM26 that took part in the studies. The students were also mostly from semester 6 and above. So on the hypothesis testing, where our first objective is to examine whether there is a relationship between gender and the perception of the students and the recycling concept. And we use the test of cross-step chi-square on the analysis, and the results shows are 0.01, where it shows a strong relationship. So it accepts the null hypothesis for HA, and which is there is an association between the males and females on the perception on the recycling concept. Second objective, we use the Pearson correlation coefficient, and the result shows 0.000, and it also shows a strong relationship between both of the variables. Thus, the hypothesis accepted was there is an association between the attitude of the students towards the recycling concept and the perception of the students. And the third objective is to examine whether there is a relationship between knowledge and the perception of the students on the recycling concept. We also use the Pearson correlation coefficient, and the result shows 0.002, which also indicates a strong relationship between the two. Thus, the hypothesis is there is an association between the knowledge of the students on recycling and the perception of the students towards the recycling process.
The first limitation of this study is the difficulties to get the respondent. In the study, respondents are those people who have been welcomed to participate and took part in the question A. So the difficulty arises when respondents are unwilling to devote the effort to participate in the question A. And since the COVID-19, the question A were distributed through the Google Form. So the participation of a respondent who have answered question A through the Google Form was very low, and if there was a face-to-face question A, it could boost the number of respondents. Since the study used it as the quantitative study, it is affecting the survey was not available depth in collecting the data. Therefore, the situation led to a lower response rate of targeted population. So the second limitation is the sample size. The study is limited to the student in the Faculty of Administrative Science and Policy Studies only. Therefore, the result cannot be generated to other faculty in UiTM Campus SEREMBAN, since besides the result of the study may not determine the actual factor that contribute to the perception of recycling concept as the study is only covered on one faculty only. Specifically, other faculty in the UiTM campus Seremban can be included to the part of the respondent to answer the questionnaire. Therefore, the result may not be precise as it only covers one faculty only. So, the faculty should be considered by future researcher as is the whole faculty in the UiTM campus Seremban. The third limitation is a limited model. A good model is comprehensive and as clear as possible when it's not only strong but understandable as well. The research model helps to guide researcher done study across institutions, including both experimental and analysis study. So, when there is a limitation for the model for researcher to use, thus models are unable to include all natural phenomena complication. It cannot help the researcher to make a judgment, and some information can be left out. So model usually includes a few evaluations to explain what happened in the nature and also need to be improved. But these assumptions are not accurate, where it may differ from what researcher actually interprets. So the limited model is happened in this study. The first future recommendation is build the community. Community creates loyalty based on the common interest, and building a strong community can make things easier. The importance in order to have a community that understands of environment preservation, it can bring the target that aim achieved. The community can help enlarge or spread a concept with all the students, lecturers, and all other who is in the UiTM campus Seremban. Therefore, it is important to have a better community in order to have a proper plan to spread the message of recycling as a whole. Even though in the UiTM we have a BEVA club, but create a new community can develop an idea, skill, knowledge, and achieve a more goal more quickly, because we involve all the students in different causes together. The second future recommendation is more recycle bins. Recycling and waste containers should be readily available to students throughout their campus. The community needs to make sure that the recycling bins need to be consistent in all areas to help students make the right choice, and consistent help to reduce contamination levels. The easiest example that I can state it here is the UiTM students love to buy the water bottle in the campus. So, can create or provide the recycling bins for plastic bottle near the bottle shelf. Its setting goal will help the student knows what they are aiming for. This is the easiest initiative can be done for student understand and acknowledge and consider this as a silent awareness for students to change their perception towards the recycle. As a conclusion for this research study, the study is done to give a better understanding and to gain more knowledge towards the recycling concept. And there is affection on a student perception towards the recycle concept, even though in a low condition, a low situation. From the study, the researcher, my partner and I have faith and a good expectation that this study can give a good exposure towards the development of an understanding. And the study done has given information on improving and enhancing the recycling concept in UiTM campus Seremban, and give a better understanding in perception on student towards it. Thank you.